This is either the model or similar to the model that we're going to build in the next roof class on October 26th. This is varying plate heights, and you can tell because, first of all, the ridge isn't centered. If you look closely, you'll notice the hip runs out to the corner here, but it's shy of the corner there. And that happens in three places, there and there. See, it doesn't come to the corner, this corner, and here, and the same with the valley. The valley doesn't run all the way down to the plate here. So what you have to imagine, or what we'll be discussing, is that there's an imaginary plate that runs out to here. That's the same elevation as this plate. The closer you get to the ridge, the higher the plate, or right, stands to reason, right? So there's actually a function on CAD, well, that'll give you the actual plate. If you'll see that, you see these blue lines, they're the plates, consistent plate heights, right? So now the ridges are centered between the two, right? And the hips die out on the corners, right? Here, and the valley actually dies out on the corner. So this distance, right, you have to calculate in terms of, you add it, find the center line, subtract it, and get the short side, right, and the long side. We turn it on or turn it off, and this is what you're looking at. When you walk up on the job, it'll already be framed. And then you'll look at the plans and you'll say, oh, varying plate heights, okay. And then if you know the pitch, then you can calculate based on the height of this one right alongside the height of this one. In other words, you can get up on the plates and you can stretch your tape, which is something you ought to do. You shouldn't just go off the plans. You clamber up there and make sure that if it says 12 inches, it's actually 12 inches and not 13. It's really common that they'll be different, right? The plans will call it out a different height, the same height around the whole building, and there'll be all these different heights, you know. So some of the walls have to be furred up and all this business, but maybe not where you come from, but out here. Anyway, so once you calculate that, you can add an imaginary plate like the one that we just saw in blue, and then find the new span, divide it in half to get the the long side, and then subtract the plate to get the short side, yeah? And you'll notice here there's two ridges that are at the same height and one that's lower. So you have this little broken hip here, and we run this ridge on through and die into this common rafter, which makes it really easy to frame. So you frame this upper. There is a whole world that says frame the lowest spans first and work your way up, but in some, you know, there's another whole world that says put your bones up, you know. So you kind of do first, you know, you just kind of do what you feel intuitively. What I would do is I would use these commons to establish this ridge height, throw the hip end king common and the king commons in here to establish this front end, throw the hips in, throw those commons in, put this common in, throw the hips in, establish this one, bring this one on out. It has an end king common, so that makes it easier. These are a little bit complicated to get, so these king cripples, once we have them though, we can get the lengths of all of these and so forth. So yeah.